G'day, my name's Josh and I'm a senior engineer on Keystone, and today on this video I want to show a couple of things, which is a little bit of getting started with Keystone within Remix, how to use getContext within that Remix, and I'm going to deploy it to Vercel and use Neon. I've never used Neon, the serverless Postgres, before. So I'm going to give that a go and see how we go. All right, let's get into it. So this is the Keystone stocks here. So Keystone is app framework. We're going to deploy that to Vercel within Remix. We're going to use the new Vercel Remix package. And then, so this is the and then we're going to use Neon, the serverless Postgres, and give that a go, and use the integration between Vercel and Neon. So we're I'm roughly following like the outcomes of this long app tutorial with a few changes. Obviously, we're using Keystone for our backend framework. Through the getContext, and then here's the walkthrough for Keystone, so kind of following that a little bit as well. So let's get started. I have created a repo here on GitHub, and I've pulled that down into my local VS Code. And I'm just gonna start off. We're gonna npx create remix at latest. Now I'm gonna install it into a subdirectory, and just the basics. We're gonna do Vercel, TypeScript, and we're not going to run npm install just yet. I'm actually going to use pnpm for this one. Okay, so now that's there, I actually want to take all of this and put it in the root of the folder instead of a subfolder. So we'll delete that folder. Okay, so we've got now a Remix app set up here, and we're just gonna have we're just going to change a few dependencies. First of all, we're going to use our package manager of pnpm 8.2. And then I'm just going to copy in the dependencies that I've got. So much of them remain the same, but we've got our Keystone 6 core. We're going to we got Prisma, which is what Keystone uses. These are our, we're going to move this types down here. We've got Vercel, and then we've got bcrypt, which we're going to use for password as well. So, and then our dev is going to be change a little bit as well. Much the same, but we just got a few extra types, and our Prisma. I've also upgraded TypeScript to be the latest. So pnpm install, and that is going to install all our dependencies. Now, while that's going, I am going to create a new file called keystone.ts, and within that I will copy in my Keystone config. So this one, we get our config and lists from Keystone core. We've got our database configuration, so we're using Postgres. We're going to look at our database URL first, and for dev, we're just going to look at this local environment. I'm going to put it on port 4000 so we can run both the admin UI and Remix at the same time. And then we've got some access. We've just got one list, which is a user list, just to keep it simple. We've got a password, an email and name, and then a little bit of about text. And then I've put some access control on here so that you can only access this if you have a session. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to come back to this, and what I'm going to do here is put a couple of extra commands here. I'm going to put a post install for Keystone post install, as well as my build command. I'm going to add in a Keystone Prisma deploy, so that will deploy my migrations. So when I build within Vercel. So that's, I'll save that and run pnp install again. Now we'll just pick everything up. Now, as that's going, we have a couple of other things to do within the Remix folder before we push up what we've got. So what I've got here in the entry, I'm just going to take this out and I'm going to replace it with the one that's on the Vercel site. So we'll just paste all that in. And then I'm going to create a utils folder in the app directory, and I'm going to put 3 files in there. One is a request.server. Oops. Request.server.ts. Now you see that if you go through the tutorial on the Remix site, you'll see both the request server and one session.server.ts. So you'll see both of those in the tutorial. I'm going to add another one of Keystone.server.ts. And while we're just doing that, I'll say yes to that one down the bottom. So that now that pnpm install has generated my Prisma and my GraphQL. I'm also going to put in another file here of a login.tsx as well, which again you'll see in that tutorial about a lot of how these fit together. So in my Keystone server, just gonna, here we've got our context, and then I've got a session context as well, and we're just going to pull in a user ID, the require user ID, which we're going to get from the session, and then we're going to pass that in as our session to Keystone. The request is fairly straightforward. That's just our helper function, and our session is going to be, there's a little bit more in that, but I'll run through it. So we've got our Keystone context from our Keystone server, which we've got the folder that we just created. We've got a login function which will use the Keystone context. It'll use a sudo context so that access control isn't applied, and it'll find an email that you're passing in to this function. It will use bcrypt to compare the the password that it gets back and the password that's passed in, and then return null or return the ID and email address. And yeah, a lot of this session stuff you can see in the walkthrough of the Remix walkthrough. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to save this one. All right, and now what have we got? Our login. Let's pull in that one as well. This is our actual login page, and for this is very similar to the Remix walkthrough that's on their website, and we're just passing the login straight into our login function that's on the session. Okay, so one last thing is I'm just going to replace, I'm going to add a loader here to get all our users. So I'm just going to use index to get in our users. We've got a couple of imports that we need to do. Okay, so we've got a couple of imports there. We're going to get our session context passing through our request, and then that will give us an actual session context, so that when we use context here, it's got access control already applied to it. And then we've got to make sure that we've put this, pull the data from the use loader data in that one. Okay, and then we're just going to pull out these links here and pop in another one. We'll pull out all of that. Okay, and we'll need to do that. All right. And we'll pnpm dev on this one. All right, so we're just going to go to localhost 3000, and then it's going to ask me to log in. So I am going to register test. Let's go test at test.com, and we'll do a password of password123. And because I've got register there, I'm going to log in, and you can see that database already had a user in it, and I've now created another user. If we jump in and have a look, you'll see my session storage has a session there. So that's why I can see these extra users. All right, so now we have that. We're going to, we will need to add to our git ignore just our .keystone, so we don't need to push that one up. That brings our what we need down a little bit. Now I'm just going to stop these local ones here, and before I push up, I'm going to do a pnpm keystone prisma migrate dev, and that'll generate our migrations. Yes, initial. Okay, so that has now generated, if we have a look, our migrations with a Prisma migration in it. And because we have in our build command, we have remix build and Keystone Prisma migrate deploy, that will deploy our migrations to our database as well. All right, so let's push that up and see what happens. All right, so now we can refresh this page and we see that we've got our commit up there. So we're going to jump over to the dashboard. I'm going to add a new project. This is on Vercel, and we are going to look at our remix. This is the one that we've just created. Okay, simple deploy. And while that's going, I'm going to get on our Neon, sign in. Okay, let's see what we've got here. And we are going to create a project, and we're going to call it Remix Vercel Demo. We'll keep the defaults there like that, and that will be fine. Now, over on this one, that has failed to build for some reason. Okay, so yes, it hasn't. We haven't got our database in here yet. So we are going to go to project. All right, and we will come to settings and go integrations, browse the marketplace, and we're going to find databases. Where is it? Neon. There we go. We're going to add integration. We're going to go personal, continue. We're just going to add it to specific projects, which is our Keystone Remix Vercel. Continue, add integration, and then select our database, our Vercel project, continue. The Neon project, I'm just gonna select all the defaults there, and done. Okay, so now we can go back into our here, and now one other thing we're going to need in settings and environment variables. We can see that the Neon has now added all those extra ones for us. We're just going to need a session secret without an E. Now I'm just going to randomly punch some numbers, but you should use a proper generator for that. We'll save that. Also good to use separate session secrets for your different environments as well. But this is just a quick demo. So let's see how we go here. Now, I'll redeploy that. We can just use the existing build cache, hopefully, and see how that goes. Have a look at what we're doing here. All right, so that has built our Remix app, and it looks like it's successfully deployed our migration. Deployment complete, and now we can go and visit our site. Let's have a look. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to register, test, password, 123, log in, and there you go. So that's our working app. All right, so we've just built our Keystone in Remix, deployed to Vercel, and using a Postgres database, thanks Neon. Yeah, make sure you like and subscribe. I'll post a bunch of links in the description, and thanks for watching.